pillows can be suffocation risks if a small child pulls it on top of them and can't get out from under it. It's like a heavy blanket or anything like that.
Yeah. So, with
Plastic
us
bags.
Farm animals, though, like, those are things we have to think about. Like, you can't leave buckets sitting out.
Yes.
Because of small children. Like, there's a reason, like, they have those pictures of children falling into buckets is because it happens. And so we don't leave buckets
and
sitting out.
They're not strong enough to get out.
Mm-mm. No, well, their arms get trapped, right? Like, they're stuck in the bucket.
I heard
it's cute when they wear it on their head, but not cute when they fall in it.
I heard a horrible story. I do not want to be graphic on this podcast, but I did hear a horrible story where there was an accident that ended up being fatal when an individual who was watching a small child was wrapping Christmas gifts and a plastic bag was left unattended, and the individual did not notice that the child had gotten wrapped up in the plastic bag. Mm-mm. And so things like that you just don't always automatically think about, and it's just more of a forewarning.
Yeah, it's just more of things to think about, because you're not really childproofing for that first year, right? Like, you're childproofing for this child's life, like their entire life,
and constantly adjusting. Because with mine, I do constantly adjust my childproofing, but I definitely over childproofed before I had the baby.
But I even think about, like, I'm childproofing for my teenagers, right? Like, you have to have the conversations now with the kids about, I call them stupid conversations, but I feel like that's what they are. Like, we're talking like the Tide Pods and the Cinnamon Challenge.
Yes.
And the Blackout Challenge.
And there's always new ones.
And there's always a new one. And so every time I learn about it, I have to sit my kids down and be like, this is stupid, right? Don't be stupid and do this. And they're like, ugh, why would you think it? I'm like, if other people have done it and been stupid enough to do it and then post about it online, I have to be the adult and have a conversation with you about it. So you're not just childproofing for small children, you're childproofing.
And never assume that they won't do it.
No,
your child will always find some way to do something risky that you did not consider before they do it. And now it's more important than ever with social media to, as soon as you hear of something like that, you need to have a conversation with them to make sure that they understand how dangerous it could be.
Yeah, because they don't go, oh, well, that's stupid. Why would anybody eat a Tide Pod? Like, that's not what they think. They go, they got like 20,000 views on that. I could get 20,001 views.
But as far as like you said, don't just childproof for the first year. When you're getting your mindset to sit down and really consider your environment and how to make it as safe as possible, you consider it at various ages of a child. So when they're tall enough, they can do this. When they can crawl, they can do this. When they can start climbing a ladder, they'll do this. Those things are important because, quite frankly, you're going to get busy. You're not going to remember, and have a conscious moment of, I'm going to reconsider exactly how my space's potential risks could affect my child.
Yeah, no.
And as they grow, the risks do change. But when they're young, a lot of the safety hazards are still there. You just didn't necessarily think about it, like gun safety, slingshots. We're in Texas, so a lot of different poisons are in people's homes that are very common, like ant killers and hornet spray and all those things.
Yeah. Well, I think about even locking up medications. Like, you do it when they're small children, you should still do it when they're older children.
Absolutely. Because
somebody told them that would be really cool. And it would be fun. And it's not cool and it's not fun. And so why?
And they don't know what that medicine is. They might think it's something and it sounds like something else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If my kids want Tylenol, they have to ask to go get into the medicine
I've had
cabinet.
multiple conversations with my child. Even though all of mine are locked up, I do take a lot of vitamins and things. But there's certain vitamins, like my vitamin B, looks like M&Ms. It's literally green and it looks like M&Ms. So all of my stuff is locked up. And I do have to take these things because I'm deficient. It's not like an optional thing. And my child, I have had multiple conversations with because You never know. There could be a moment in time where someone moves something and then it gets misplaced, or a pill falls and hits the ground that you were supposed to give to your dog because it didn't swallow it. Those things. So I have had conversations over the last 2 years with my child saying, you never take medicine. You never take medicine unless it's yours, because it could really hurt you if it's not for you.
Yep.
And I think that people do not bring up conversations like that until they're older, like in the older teens, and they're 16 and they're already at high risk of having things like that happen in high school. And you can bring it up as they're younger. You don't have to censor it completely. I mean, obviously you might not want to bring up every aspect of it, but bringing it up early can help coach them through a moment where if you didn't say anything, they might be at risk.
Yeah. I prefer to talk my children to death versus saying nothing. That's my motto. I would rather talk them to death than say nothing. So instead they get lectures upon lectures.
Yeah.
But I feel better at the end of the day.
A conversation I've had too is the barrel of a gun. There was a young man, he was, I think, between 12, 14, somewhere in there, and I did not know the family. I just heard it on the news, but he was crawling over the seats in a truck, and the gun was wedged between seats because it was a ranch truck and it was pointed up, and his belly went over the gun and it went off. And he did get severely injured. I do not remember the outcome, but things like that I do bring up, even though my child is very young, because you don't know, someone might come to visit your home and they may not have considered your child going into their car.
Yep.
So I just always tell them, this is what the barrel looks like, and I just show pictures. I don't have to have one to show them.
No.
You can just show pictures and have them understand. Never allow this to point at anyone or yourself.
Safety is a conversation that can be had at any time.
And we're in Texas.
Yeah, right. It's happening here. So we did our research and we looked up the National Safety Council. It's nsc.org. They have a really good article on childproofing your home. We're just going to.
It's not super long, and it's not super in depth.
No,
but it might trigger some ideas for you in your environment and what to think about.
So they cover a lot of the same things that we just covered. Water, heat and flame, toxic substances, potential falls. They do talk about keeping guns out of reach. I will take that a step further and say guns should always be secured in a safe so that they can't
100%. I completely agree with that. I do not think that out of reach is an option for me, because it could always fall to a level that they can reach, or they could climb something to go get it.
Yes, so lock them up, keep them away. They talk about the coin lithium batteries. If your child swallows, that is so detrimental to their intestines. And they talk about keeping things that have those in them out of their reach, which I think is smart, because not
the button batteries,
teeny tiny batteries, right? They're those teeny tiny
the
ones.
Button batteries, and I do not allow any of those toys with the Orbeez things in them.
No,
none of those are allowed in my house.
No,
because they swell with moisture, and if they swallow them, they will block their gut.
Yes, and that's surgery. And I've already been there and done that with one child. I'm not doing that anymore.
No.
She swallowed a marble. She was swallowing a marble. But it's the same concept, right? Like, you don't think of these things until it happens. They talk about making sure you have all the safety devices, so latches, outlet covers, anchors, bumpers on your sharp corners, doorknob covers, cordless window coverings to prevent accidents from happening. And then they talk about being prepared in case something does happen. So, they're like, while you should watch your children at all times, kids are quick, right? And they get away and they steal all your knives and they put them in a dryer when you're not looking. And how does that even happen? Because you're pretty sure the kid never left your side.
But we were so astounded by that.
I know.
By that story. Oh, the hell? Terrifying.
But they said learn first aid and CPR. And I really think that's very important. Like, you could save your child's life just by knowing first aid, CPR, and age-appropriate Heimlich maneuvers. Because
how to save them from choking.
Yeah, because there's different methods for different ages. You know, babies, you're going to put, like, 2 fingers compared to my teenagers where I would have to use my whole hand, right? Like, there's different maneuvers for each one. Keep important phone numbers and easy-to-find locations, not just for you, but for your kids, so that if something happens, your kids could call for an emergency situation. Accidents happen all the time. They say to practice your fire escape plan. They say to do it at least twice a year. I don't disagree with that. I think that's pretty good. And then to practice for what happens if a tornado happens or any other kind of natural... You know, we have to think about that. Like, where I live, tornadoes are, I feel like, almost a common occurrence these days.
Yeah.
Hurricanes, while we're not on the coast, we're close enough that sometimes we feel the brunt of them. And so, like, being prepared for those
and tornadoes come off of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're not in tornado
that, and if you
alley,
put
but
them
pretty damn close.
in the space that you find is the safe place for them during the natural disaster or whatever that is occurring, a lot of times if you put them in that space when there's not an immediate threat, it will make it more comfortable for them in the future, instead of them being nervous and scared and you're running in and out of the room and then they just start following you because they're scared.
Yeah.
Instead of staying in the safe place.
Yeah. They're well aware of what needs to happen and why. And it just eases their fears. And really, that's all it is. We're easing their fears. So, I really like today's wine. I know we didn't talk about it very much, but I like it. I've been eating a lot of the cheese to go with it.
I've been eating these praline pecans and completely forgot to continue drinking it.
You're like, I was just eating.
My in-laws are coming, though, so we will have plenty of wine to drink.
There you go. I'm going to need the wine to, like, smooth over this evening when we work on the coop again, because it's too hot right now. But
oh, yeah, maybe it'll make y'all get along a little better about the coop.
Or at least maybe afterwards. We definitely won't get along during, but maybe afterwards.
Just don't let yourselves get too hot.
That's right.
You know what I like to do when I go outside? I actually take a freezer pack, like you put in your lunch kit, and I put it in my back pocket.
Oh.
It helps keep me cool. And my husband, I stick it in his front pocket if he has one on his chest. But like, yeah, sometimes if you just cool one part of your body, it helps keep your overall temperature cool.
There you go. I try that.
I learned this really cool tip I'd love to share real fast. I was at a park the other day. Do something a little more lighthearted than this conversation. We were at a splash pad, and this lovely lady I befriended because, you know, I like to make friends with strangers. But she was actually very kind, and my God, she was gorgeous too, by the way. Anyway, so she pulls out this little makeup brush, and it has like a little cover on it, which was super cute. And she goes, "Have you ever seen this before? I saw this and it's just so cool." And she literally puts sunscreen on it and then brushes it onto her children's faces. And I was like, mind blown. My kid literally runs away from my hands.
And they would probably let you brush it on them.
Yes. Like how? Anyway, so fun tip of the day from the individual. I didn't even get her name. She's so sweet. But anyway.
Genius.
Ta-da!
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode. So we hope you enjoyed our wine and motherhood adventures. Thank you for tuning in and turning up with us. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Mom's Guide to Wine, and that is with the number 2. Leave us a love note, episode suggestion, or just say hi.
Howdy!
This is Eliza.
And this is Rosie.
And we'll be spilling with you soon.